One of the most shocking things we've seen in the last episode of From Season 4 is that no matter how hard Jade and Tabitha try, they always end up the same exact way. They always end up getting killed, and they both get killed in different manners. Jade always ends up getting killed by the townspeople themselves. But then he said, Tabitha, it's worse for her. So what could be worse for her? This is From Season 4 Theories video. I'm your host, Don Tony Teflon, and let's get right into it. It has to be something terrible if it's going to be worse than what Jade has experienced. Now, since this town is on a Groundhog Day type loop, town members turning on each other and then assassinating each other is not something we have not already seen before. In fact, this is exactly the same reason why Boyd gets shot.
Everything was fine until you went into the forest.
Hey.
You're the reason all this is happening.
Okay. Hey. Listen to me. Listen to me. I know you don't understand this. I know. But I think this torch right here, I think this is going to help me fix this.
So if we take what happened into account and say that the same thing is going to happen to Jade in basically almost the same way, it's when Boyd felt like he had a plan to fix things. When he had a plan to actually get this whole cicada monster out of the town. And it was at this time that this dude lost his mind and felt that he had to blame Boyd for everything that happened and that he had no choice but to go out there and try to take him out, because he felt that everything bad that happened after Boyd went into the forest. And since the man in yellow said this is his favorite part, we could assume that this is the reason why it happens over and over again. So when Jade finally gets a discovery that may save the town, that is when I believe the town will then turn against him. It's not just going to be on the whim, but he's going to almost come up with a breakthrough. I'm sure they'll start hearing rumors. That redheaded lady in the tent, I don't trust her, but I'm sure they'll start hearing rumors and stuff. But I think as soon as he's about to crack the code, that is when they're going to strike. Now, in order for it to be worse for Tabitha than it was for Jade, then it has to be something extremely brutal. Something that is unfathomable. But we're going to try to figure it out right here in this video. Because when we see the way Jade died, it was brutal. First, we seen him as a guy get crushed by a boulder. Now, I don't know if he was trying to go into a faraway tree, or he was pushed into a faraway tree by the town because he said this is the way to go home, and then after they did that, and he wound up in the boulder. Next, we seen Christopher. Christopher had his neck slit, and I believe this is why Miranda really told her son and her daughter to stay away from him, because she knew that he was at risk, and that's why they were hiding out there. The Civil War soldier, it's hard to tell what happened to him. We know his eye is messed up, but maybe they strung him up from that tree that we seen, and that's why there was all that blood in there. Maybe that's what happened to him. And then we seen the blood out of the skull drinker, and he was found with a rod in his eye, pinned up against a tree. All those ways are brutal ways to die. So it's hard for me to see how it could be any worse for Tabitha. So let's try to figure it out. Number one reason, killed by a monster. Now we know that this is definitely the number one reason, and probably the most obvious, because we've seen this happen already. And we can trust this vision because Tabitha had the vision herself. It wasn't something right from Victor. So we know that this is the way that Miranda died, when she was outside trying to get inside of the bottle tree, and the smile monster hunted her down and killed her, and that's how she went out. Now that's a brutal way going out. We've seen the monsters kill in many diabolical ways. We've seen them pin a girl to the tree with a rod in the head. We've seen them rip apart Kenny's mom. Diabolical. Every time they have killed people, it has been terrible. But is that truly worse than anything that Jade could have experienced? And to me, I really just don't think it is. I think that Jade, from what we've seen of these people, he's went out way worse than if a monster killed you. So I'm sure it's scary to get killed by a monster, but I'm sure it's scary to get killed by a mob of people also. Maybe even more frightening. So when I look at that situation, that's why I think it may have to do with something else. Number two, her kid dies. Now, I know that a lot of people question how good of a mother Tabitha actually is. And I'm not going to go into that in this video. That is up for you to decide. But one thing we do know about her is that she's a mother. And she does love her children. And what I think would be brutal to any parent, but especially a mother, someone who's brought somebody into this world through their physical body, would be to see their child die. Now, we don't know what happened to Eloise. Victor said that he buried her, but there was only little bits. He's assuming that she died in the massacre. That's how he found her. I don't think that happened. I think it's something else, but we can talk about that in another video. But if Eloise did die or something happened to her, was she forced to know that her kid is going to die? Because we know that she had visions of this town before she entered the town. And we have to assume that since Jade got memories of this place and we see Tabitha get flashbacks of Miranda, then it's not a stretch at all to think that Christopher and Miranda finally got the same flashbacks and they were aware of what's going to happen. And maybe that made her know that one of her kids is going to die. Number three, make a deal. The worst possible scenario for Tabitha would be choice in this situation. If she is dealing with the entity and maybe she has to leave one of her children in there in order for this whole thing to get another chance at this, for this whole thing to be given another shot. Is that the real reason she left Victor? Because she knew that she had to sacrifice Victor, that he was forced to stay there. Now, in my last video, I told you why I thought it was important for Victor to stay there. Check out that video. It'll be at the end of this whole video. You'll find it there if you click on it. But could that be the reason that they need another child for every type of generation that comes into this place to manifest this place for them? So she's forced to leave one of her kids inside of this place. Number five, killing Jade. Now we know Jade is torn apart by the town every time, and that's how he goes about it. But why does it happen? Does Tabitha make a deal? Or does when Jade come to her and tell her everything that he believes, or Christopher if you want to go in the past, and this is what's going on, that she doesn't believe him, and she is the one who sounds the alarm on him over and over again. Now we have to remember that Jade and Tabitha, they're like Hawkman and Hawkgirl. They keep getting regenerated and they have this internal love for each other. That's the way it is. The actor actually said that in an interview, so we know that that's the case. So what if she's forced every time to flip on Jade because she wants to save the children, her children, and that is what causes Jade to be massacred? This could easily be the reason why Miranda told her kids to avoid Christopher, because maybe Christopher found out about it, found out that she flipped on him and he was mad at her, and that's what caused him to so-called lose his mind and want to hurt her kids. But in the end, the town got to him before he could do the damage to them. When I look at all these things, I would say the number one thing I think would be worse is if she had to make a deal or be forced to sacrifice her own kids and she gets killed by a monster. We know that she gets killed every time and it's worse, but we don't know exactly how. But if she's forced to sacrifice a kid, if she always gets that choice, sometimes she might do it, sometimes the other version of her won't do it, and then she gets killed right after. I think that would be the totally worst thing that could happen to her. Also, another kid just happened to be forced to stay there, sacrifice one kid in order to save the other. If that's something that happened and we find that Eloise is alive, and the reason why she's alive is because they sacrificed Victor staying there in order to get Eloise out of there, that would also be worse than death, in my opinion. But you tell me in the comment section, what do you think could be worse than what Jade has gotten? You know, could she have to just relive over and over, get the knowledge of her getting killed over and over again? That would be horrible too. But you let me know in the comment section what you think. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, hype the video, and subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.